The Subcommittee on Water, Wildlife, and Fisheries will come to order. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome members, witnesses, and our guests in the audience in today's hearing. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess of the subcommittee at any time. Under Committee Rule 4F, any oral opening statements at hearings are limited to the chair and the ranking member. I therefore ask unanimous consent that all other members' opening statements be made part of the hearing record if they are submitted in accordance with Committee Rule 3.0. Without objection, so ordered. I also ask unanimous consent that the Congressman from Alaska, Mr. Begich, the Congressman from Texas, Dr. Babin, the Congressman from Arizona, Mr. Ciscomani, and the Congressman from Florida, Mr. Fine, be allowed to participate in today's hearing. Without objection, so ordered. We are here today to consider 7 legislative measures. The Endangered Species Transparency and Reasonableness Act of 2025, sponsored by Representative McClintock of California. The Sushi Act, H.R. 3706, the Sushi Act, sponsored by Representative Babin of Texas. H.R. 3831, the Florida Safe Seas Act of 2025, sponsored by Representative Webster of Florida. H.R. 4033, the Sturgeon Conservation and Sustainability Act of 2025, sponsored by Representative Fine of Florida. H.R. 4293, to amend the Sykes Act to increase flexibility with respect to cooperative and interagency agreements for land management off of installations, sponsored by Representative Ciscomani of Arizona. And H.R. 4294, the Moss Act of 2025, sponsored by Representative Elfreth of Maryland, and a discussion draft to amend the Marine Mammal Protection Act, or MMPA, sponsored by Representative Begich of Alaska. I now recognize myself for a 5-minute opening statement. Today, the Subcommittee on Water, Wildlife, and Fisheries will examine 7 bills that cover a wide range of issues. From a discussion draft to modernize the Marine Mammal Protection Act to several species-specific bills that address regional issues such as shark feeding, invasive blue catfish, and the ESA treatment of farm-raised sturgeon. In the interest of time, I will highlight only 2 of the bills before us today, but I've already identified their numbers and their names. The first is the MMPA discussion draft. When MMPA was first enacted in 1972, it was 20 pages long. The document that NOAA or NOAA created just to establish the criteria for determining, quote, negligible impact, end quote, which is undefined in the MMPA now, is just as long, which is representative of how regulatory creep has affected the vast majority of statutes that we deal with on this subcommittee. The discussion draft defines terms like negligible impact and makes long overdue reforms to its regulatory process that governs tribal activities, state fish and wildlife agencies, commercial fishing, offshore energy, and the maritime sector. The discussion draft's reforms to the regulatory process are crucial to building on the success of the One Big Beautiful Bill, advancing the Trump administration's goal to unleash America's energy resources. Next, we have a bill by Congressman Ciscomani, which makes changes to the Sykes Act, a statute meant to incentivize species conservation on Department of Defense lands by shielding them from the more punitive aspects of the Endangered Species Act. Unfortunately, in Fort Huachuca, a U.S. Army base in southern Arizona that houses many important assets, such as the U.S. Army Intelligence Center of Excellence and U.S. Army Network Enterprise Technology Command, not all of the Sykes Act's promised benefits have been fully realized. This Army base has in fact been in nearly a decade of litigation with environmental groups over their ability to maintain an adequate water supply for base operations. Congressman Ciscomani's bill would provide the flexibility needed to ensure the long-term viability of critical military assets. And lastly, I want to take a moment to recognize one of our witnesses, Major William Holcomb. He recently volunteered on his own time to assist with the law enforcement response to the recent flooding tragedy at Camp Mystic in Kerr County, Texas. We all thank you for your service. With that, I want to take the time to thank all of our witnesses for being here today, and I look forward to a robust conversation.